Om Shanti. I step into my inner sacred space, and in my silence I remember Baba, and Baba remembers me. He takes me and seats me in his eyes on the throne of his heart. The greatest, the loveliest, the purest place ever to be. I am in God's heart, and in his heart I can see mine. I see what I was before and what I am now, after he found me and made me belong to him. He makes me like he is. He is changing me from a beggar into a self-sovereign soul with all rights. He made me from an orphan into his most beloved child. He knows me the best, and I trust him. My faith in him makes me unshakable and immovable. My love for him makes me double light. He makes me as he is, innocent and powerful, detached and loving, the concentrated point of divine light and an unlimited ocean of mercy, word benefactor as he is. I am his and he is mine. My whole world, my everything. My belonging to him is the foundation of my true self-respect. And now he takes me higher. We go to our home. Together with Baba, I sit on the top of the cycle. We sit at Amritvela of the cycle, and I become his helper to awaken the world. He shines through me. I am his transparent, accurate, and humble instrument. I am his ray of love and hope for the world. I shine. We all shine. We all are his rays of light and might. We all are beautiful and powerful, and we shine together. And the purest power of love, God's love, reaches every living being and all elements of the nature. Everyone and everything gets healed and renewed. The whole world awakens to its perfect harmony. The earth becomes new again. Om Shanti.
To be humble means to maintain your self-respect, and it is also the easy way to receive respect from everyone else. To be humble doesn't mean to bow down, but to make everyone bow down to your speciality and love. The sign of greatness is humility. To the extent that you are humble, you will accordingly be considered great in the heart of everyone. Humility easily makes you egoless. The seed of humility automatically enables you to attain the fruit of greatness. Humility is the easy way to receive blessings from everyone's heart. The sign of being egoless is humility. When you have the virtue of humility in your attitude, vision, words, contacts, and relationships, you become great. Just as the bowing of a tree serves others, so too to be humble means to become a server and bow down. This is why there has to be the balance of greatness and humility. Those who remain humble attain everyone's respect. When you are humble, everyone respects you. No one respects those who are arrogant. Everyone moves so far away from them. Those who are humble give everyone happiness. Wherever they go and whatever they do, they will give happiness to everyone. The speciality of a server is being a very humble world servant who also has the authority of knowledge. To the extent that you remain humble, you accordingly remain a carefree emperor. Keep a balance of being humble and an authority. The consciousness of being humble and unlimited and of being an instrument are the main basis of successful service. To the extent that you have self-esteem, you also need to have humility. Let there be no arrogance in your self-esteem. Do not feel that you are more elevated than those younger than you. There mustn't be any feelings of dislike for them. No matter what souls are like, look at them with the vision of mercy. There mustn't be any arrogance or feeling of insult with others. Let there never be that type of behavior in your Brahmin birth. When there is no arrogance, you won't feel insulted, even when you are insulted. Such souls would constantly remain humble and busy in the task of construction. Those who are humble will be able to work for the construction of the new world, to consider oneself to be an instrument and to remain humble is the seed of good wishes and pure feelings. Instead of expecting any limited respect, be humble. A stubbornness indicates bad manners, whereas humility indicates good manners. To be humble in your interactions with everyone indicates that you are good-mannered and truthful. You will become a star of success when you are not arrogant about your success and you don't speak about it. Do not sing your own praise, but to the extent that you are successful, be humble, constructive, and easy-natured. Others may sing your praise, but you only sing praise of the Father. Such humility easily enables you to carry out the task of construction. You cannot carry out the task of construction. Brahma Baba lowered himself with such humility. He was such a server who served with so much humility that he was even ready to massage the children's feet. He always felt that the children were ahead of him and could give better lectures than he could. He never put himself first. He always put the children first. He always let them go first and considered them to be senior. Because he did this, he didn't put himself down, but in fact became even more elevated. To give respect to others and keep yourself humble is a sign of having mercy for others. This form of constantly giving becomes a form of receiving for all time. Renounce temporary, perishable respect and remain stable in your self-respect. Om Shanti. We were thinking about Daddy Gulzar because we were talking about this just after Daddy left. So we had this in our mind, but anyone you can think of, someone that embodied humility, what happened with that special soul. So describe a story when you saw an instrument embody humility. And we'll have 3 minutes for each of the questions. Still having the story in our minds, how does your story relate to you? In what ways are you trying to follow this example? How does your story relate to you? In what ways are you trying to follow this example? Questionnaire we received. So from that questionnaire that we will project now into different slides, what realization did you have? Were there aspects you recognized in yourself? So what realization did you have? Were there aspects you recognized in yourself from that questionnaire? So just as a reminder, we have the questionnaire here. So whilst reading these points again, you may think about it. What realization do I have? Where are there aspects that I can recognize in myself? And the last question. What transformation is needed now so humility can be more present in your life? What transformation is needed now so humility can be more present in your life?
False identities, so many wrong ideas about ourselves. And then it all was demonstrated either in arrogance or maybe in low self-esteem. So now our fortune is that Baba came, he found us, and he is reminding us about our true self-respect. So when we realize that, when we become what he says we are, then we also become more humble, and thanks to that, we can be better instruments in his task. So humble and creative, as Baba says, and of course, the most beautiful example of Brahma Baba, who was always saying you first, and all this leading to renewal of this world. So Baba offers us so many ways how we can work on our self-respect, on the true elevated self-respect. So one of the ways are all those beautiful and powerful titles of self-respect. So how Baba reminds us who we are, how he's really interested to recreate our self-respect. So now we would like to offer a list of self-respects, and it's a kind invitation for everyone just to see which title resonates with me, which title speaks to me. So in this few moments, we would like to ask everyone, just in silence, to think about these titles, these points of Swaman, and see how I can deepen the example of those, how I can use them more in my practical life. So then I can say to others, you first, and I can remain humble, beautiful Baba's server. So there is a list of 85 titles that Baba is giving us, and Judy will show them. And it's not that we expect everyone to look and think about every point, but you can just randomly lay your eyes on one point, then another one, then maybe the next one, and see what kind of feeling is created in your heart, and make it sit in your heart. So then you become like that, or maybe you strengthen this specific point of who you are, who I am. So a few minutes for this silent space with Baba and the way he sees me. So it's an opportunity to see myself like that, to increase my self-respect, so I can become even better server for him in his task. Shanti. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. You cannot hear me?
Yes, we hear. Very good.
Jayanti cannot hear me.
Oh, yeah, now I can.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for this. Hopefully, it was a good exercise. We hear all these things daily in Murli, but maybe not always we think about this virtues, these titles. So it was just an invitation for that. And now for next few minutes, 8 minutes, we would like to ask everyone to write their realizations, any observations, any comments that you would have after the conversations in small groups, or maybe from any reflections that we had. So please write them in the chat box, and then everyone is asked to read those comments for him or herself in silence. So we will remain in silence for next few minutes and let us enrich each other with our realizations. Thank you.
I want to mention one particular thing that I found is a very good litmus paper, the test for whether there's ego or not, because I resonated with Bill's comment about there can be an exterior show of humility, but inside, of course, it hasn't yet developed in the way that it should, but I'm thinking this is how I'm supposed to be if I'm humble, and so I'm pretending. Which, like you said, is some effort of some type anyway, but not really the natural state. And the one thing that is a big, big signal that there's ego there is pain, sorrow. If there are things happening that I'm taking any pain or any sorrow from, because this one said this, or I wasn't given this opportunity, or this thing happened, or the other thing happened, for sure there's ego there. Because in that state of humility, I have my inner state of self-respect, my own dignity, and I'm not waiting for either a pat on my back or somebody to hand me roses to say how good I was. I'm really not waiting for anybody to prop me up and applaud. And if they're not applauding, that's also okay. And always this concept of learning and moving forward. But ego brings pain, and ego gets me stuck, and I'm not moving forward in the way that Baba wants me to. So really, it's a very, very simple checkpoint. If I'm going through pain, that's it. That's my ego that's being hurt. And so sometimes it's painful when things come to you, but out of that you learn, and out of that you come out brighter and better. And if I'm still stuck in that self-pity or sorrow, that's a big, big signal that I'm still stuck in the ego. And this question about knowing when to put others forward or what, I want to share a couple of experiences. For a long time, I was basically the one translator for Bap Dada whenever I was there in Madhuban, and then Shiluben at first was away, then she came back from Mauritius, and then she took it on in a big way. But before Shiluben had arrived, there was another sister who went to Didi to say, I want to do this. And Didi called me and said, this person is saying this, and I think you should let her do the translation. And think about all the other opportunities you have, and she doesn't, for various reasons. And when that Didi said that to me, I realized I have a huge amount of opportunity, and I know that that soul doesn't. And so I was able to say to Didi, that's fine, it's okay. And the other sister, of course, was very, very happy that Didi had organized it. But I was very grateful that Didi had made me aware that if I have other opportunities, then a soul who doesn't have another opportunity, it would be good to help them to move forward, to give them that opportunity. And like Maureen said, it is a whole question of learning when to step away and when to let another move forward, or am I blocking somebody's movement? Another criteria that I've used is, does the soul have the possibility of taking on a role that I'm playing at this moment? And they'll only shine when I move out of the way. But you can see that they do have that capacity, and giving them an opportunity to do something is then giving me contentment. It actually makes me very happy that another person does have those qualifications. And yes, they're not going to be perfect first time, but they'll learn. I had to learn. They'll learn too. And so from many, many in this group, I see drama, fortune, we were the first in the country, we were the first in the city, or we were the first wherever. A lot of souls like that. And so we've had that fortune that was given to us as a gift. There was nobody else. And Baba said to me, come, you do it. And I had the courage to say yes to Baba, and I moved. And Baba gave me 1,000-fold help. But at this point, maybe there are others who can do the same job, and they're not perfect, but I wasn't perfect when I started. And so I think this is a little question to ask myself. Are there others who have the capacity and the qualifications and could move forward if they had that opportunity? And I like very much this point that Wendy's making about self-respect, because when I thought about how much opportunity I did have already, and so letting go of this one thing was not such a big deal. It was a very sweet role to play, but I could do without because I already had so many other things. So I think that putting it that way, at that point for me, made it clear that it is something that should be passed on. And so today also this question, are there others who could do this? And if there are, well, why not? Let them try something. And then, of course, there's the balance. What is the quality of their interaction with others in whatever it is they're doing? What is their track record so far? And that's what I have to balance with, not just the question of my own dignity or not, but it's not just skills, definitely not. You see that in the Lokik world also. The way they put it is that if you've got IQ, you've got the intelligence, you've got the capacity. But if you don't have EQ, the emotional quotient, I've understood. I don't know that Lokik people would put it exactly in this way, but in the context of my spiritual understanding, SQ is at the top, and that means knowing myself and my relationship with myself. But in between, there's also the question of relationship with others. And so somebody has all the skills in the world, but they don't have this possibility of communicating and creating those relationships, then putting someone in a key role means that there's going to be a disaster. And the emotional quotient is absolutely connected with the spiritual. To whatever extent I know myself and I'm able to manage myself. Somebody wrote about the realization of my own emotions. Well, yes, definitely that's part of the whole subject of SQ. How deeply do I know myself, my weaknesses and my strengths, and self-dignity, and that whole list of titles, etc. Yes, I can aspire to some, but also when I can't, let me be able to acknowledge that. And so to recognize my own goodness, but also to recognize my own weakness, that's very much part of the stable process that's going to enable me to move forward. If I think I'm great and nobody else can convince me otherwise, even circumstances can't convince me otherwise, it's going to be an issue. Or if I'm lacking in self-esteem when I'm down there, then I don't have the spiritual power to be able to do a task that Baba wants, or to enable others to do a task and to move forward in that way. So many balances, but in this particular situation of giving others the opportunity, I'm looking at their skills, but I'm also looking at their capacity for relationships. And if the possibility is there, they haven't developed it fully because they haven't been thrust into that position. For a lot of us, I mean, I was thrust onto the stage when I was so scared of the stage and speaking in front of two people. And it was a surrender of my intellect to God when I said, okay, I'll do it. So there certainly was no ego involved there. It was a real surrender of ego. And at that moment, then things began to shift and develop. And today, no, I'm not scared of the microphone or the stage or whatever, but I feel that there's so many opportunities for others to grow now. But if it's a position of responsibility, it's also then dependent on to what extent they know themselves, and according to that, to what extent they're able to have and engage in good relationships with others. Because a task at this moment is really a task in which cooperation is required. Very few tasks in which I can do just on my own, but so many tasks in terms of service that needs everyone to pull their weight together. And so I think that that discernment is a very important aspect. But yes, let me each morning check my own degree of self-respect and humility. And to a certain extent, in fact, to a major extent, both go together. When truly my self-respect is based on the spiritual factors that Baba's talked to me about and told me about, then there's no ego there. You know, when I think of myself as being the Master Almighty Authority, that's the big one. And so how can I ever think about it without thinking of Baba giving this to me as an inheritance or as a blessing? It's definitely not something that I have or any other human being has. And so all the titles that Baba gives me are actually based on very deep spiritual awareness and humility. And then those qualities actually manifest. Otherwise, Baba's calling me an angel, and I see that I'm not an angel. But yes, Baba's saying, you can be. Your subtle form, your shining form is there in the subtle region. And so let me let go of the ego that's saying, well, I want a position here, but that's a trap. But let me be the angel. And I can only be the angel when I truly have changed my own feelings about others. And there's that benevolence and good wishes and care and love for others. So Baba's packaging is very beautiful. And humility is greatness. And we've seen that. Last thing that I want to say, I saw humility demonstrated by all the daddies in a beautiful way. Daddy Janki again and again, Daddy Kumarka, and some of you know this story. We were in a meeting and Daddy was chairing the meeting, and it was a few people from Bharat, a few more from abroad, and it was something to do with service abroad. And one person in the meeting, when Daddy asked that individual, would you like to speak to this? They took it off at a tangent, and they literally were commenting and critical about Daddy herself. Daddy's face did not change, her behavior did not change, the vibration didn't change. She simply waited. And when the person ran out of steam, she then said, shall we move to the second topic? We moved to the second topic. And to my shock and surprise, she asked the same person who had been ranting and railing to again open the second subject. Now, if that were me, I would have got so scared of this person's reactions and so hurt by them that I would not have dared to say to this individual, please begin the conversation on the second topic. I would have avoided him. But Dadi, and her humility and her greatness, she spoke to that same individual and said, what would you like to say about this one? And I think the shock of their arrogance and anger by then must have hit them, because then they were very humble and they spoke very softly and the meeting could continue. And if Dadi actually had not done that, that lingering vibration of ego and anger would have still been present in the room. But the fact that she went back to the person and the person had had a realization in that short spell of time, because they're a great yogi after all, it dissipated that previous energy and it was lovely. The meeting could carry on as normal as if nothing had happened. So a huge lesson for me at that time. And it's one that I've never forgotten. And I sometimes remember to do the same, not always, but getting better and better at it. And so in the face of anger and ego, can I keep my dignity and self-respect and carry Baba's work forward with that inner greatness and humility? So, going deeper within myself to that point of awareness where I am. I am Baba's child. I am Baba's instrument. And I hold Baba in front of me. And from Baba, absorb the love, the joy, the power that Baba wants to give me. And as I absorb this within myself, I realize the amazing gifts that Baba is sharing with me. And the soul is humbled that the one who is the Supreme found me, made me belong to him, and has entrusted me with the task of world renewal. Could I have imagined that I could play such a role? I thought God can do everything. And yet God is now saying to me, I need your help. I need you to be my instrument. Appreciating how the one who is the Almighty is the one who is so humble that he offers me this opportunity to create my fortune. Appreciating God's greatness, the greatness of the task, and my fortune. I feel the joy and the humility to say yes to Baba. Om Shanti.